Hey everyone, we are going to be finishing up some of our statistic unit. I'm going to show you a little bit more about the line of best fit, how we construct that line. This really goes along with our slope unit, so some of the stuff that you have already learned, we're going to apply here. So I'm going to work on this first section here. This is my student account, so the questions that I see are the questions that you see, and I'm going to work through them step by step just to show you how to get them done, and some of it will be familiar to you. Okay, so we're going to estimate equations of lines of best fit and use them to make predictions. So the question reads, Jacob distributed a survey to his fellow students asking them how many hours they spent on the internet in the past day. He also asked them to rate their mood on a scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the happiest. A line was fit to the data to model the relationship. Okay, so this is the X represents our hours online and then mood rating. And I want you to take note that the slope is sloping down. So when we're creating our equation, our slope should be negative. So let me get this out here. I know my slope should be negative, so I'm going to put a little negative sign here to remind myself that it has to be negative, because that takes out this choice. It won't let me cross it out, but this is not the right answer. Can I do it over here? No. How about over here? Okay, this is the wrong answer. So we're left with B and C. So we have to figure out what the slope and what the y-intercept is. So there's two pieces of information you're going to need to make an equation, which is slope and your y-intercept. So I'm going to start with the y-intercept because that is where the line crosses the y. It is right there. So I know my y-intercept. I'm just going to put y-int, it's hard to type, is 7.5. Okay, now we need to find slope. And when we find slope from a graph, we have to do the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to erase this for a second, but I'm going to use that point. All right, so I'm going to do the point. This is my x values and these are my y. I'm going to pick two good points. So at 0, it is at 7.5. That's 1 point. And let's go to 1 because I see that it has a really good point there. And at 1, it is 6.5. All right, now we're going to do the change in y. Right, these are my y's and these are my x's. So I'm going to do 7.5 minus 6.5 over 0 minus 1. So 7.5 minus 6.5 is just 1, and 0 minus 1 is going to be negative 1. Okay, so my final answer is negative 1. Sorry, it's hard to type on here. So I'm going to look down here, and I'm going to pick choice B. Right, so this reads y equals negative x plus 7.5, and that's what we just found out. So now the last part of this, it says based on this equation, estimate the mood rating for the student that spent 5.5 hours. Now that goes off the graph, but that's no worries. So I know that 5.5 hours represents the x value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my equation and I'm going to plug it in for the x value. So I'm going to do y equals negative 5.5, and my y-intercept is plus 7.5. When you type this all in the calculator, just plug it right in, you're going to get y equals 2, which makes sense because this is really just negative 5.5. 7.5 minus 5.5 is just 2. Okay, and that is the answer for this one, right? So you're going to need to find slope, your y-intercept, find the equation, and then whatever they're asking you for, you plug in for. So in this case, they asked you for the x value, so I plugged in for that value, and I got that. Let's check. Perfect, and I'm going to show you one more. Okay. So Shira's math test included a survey question asking how many hours students spent studying for a test. The scatter plot below shows the relationship between how many hours students spent studying and their scores on the test. A line of fit to the data, model relationship. Cool. So they're saying that the more time you study, that the data is showing that your scores will increase. Right? So I'm going to put in my y value. Here's x, y, and then the x. So again, they want to know the equation. So I know right off the bat, this is a positive equation, so I'm going to get rid of c. C is wrong because the slope's negative. So now we're down to a and b. I see my y-intercept is 45 because it crosses right here. I'm going to write my y-intercept. And now I need to find slope. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to use the y-intercept, which is right here. So 0, 45. And then I'm just going to find another good point. So I'm going to use, let's use this one right here. We can do 1, and it should be 55. That's there. Right, as long as you're choosing good points, there's actually a bunch of good points here. Don't use the points on the scatter plot, just use the points on the line. So now I'm going to subtract 55 and then 1 minus 0. And I'm going to get 10 minus 55 is just 10. And 1 minus 0 is 9. So I know my equation to be y equals 10x, because here's my slope, plus 45. Cool. So now the last part of this, based on the equation, estimate the score for a student that spends 5 hours studying. Again, they gave you your x value. I know this to be x value, so I'm going to do y equals 10 times the x value, which they gave you was 5, plus 45. You can read that. So your final answer is going to be 95 when you plug this into your calculator. Okay, let's check. Awesome. So those are your ways to handle this. If you have any questions, you can message us.